Hi guys, I hope everyone is having a great Saturday. So, today I wanted to come to you and talk about our continued series with the Encanto characters. Today we're going to chat about Antonio Madrigal from Disney's Encanto. So, he's a child. His gift is really special. He's one of the only children in the movie, and he actually has like a part where some of the other kids are just kind of is in that supporting role. But yeah, he had been stressed in the movie about his magic power. He didn't know what it was going to be, and because Mirabelle was before him and didn't get his power or didn't get her power, he was really worried about what that would look like and what would happen if he didn't get his power. So today's episode, I should say, or talk is going to focus on children's stress management, right? And how we can reduce the stress in their lives and help them build some positive coping skills. So, even though this isn't specifically focused on, what's the word I'm looking for? Like on problematic behavior, it's focused on helping your child hopefully be the best them they can be. So without further ado, the first thing, like in the movie, he was really scared. He was under the bed. He was worried, and Mirabelle went in there and was able to comfort him. So the first thing I'm always going to suggest is acknowledge your child's feelings. So it's very invalidating when, or I would imagine, and most of the children I've worked with have said it's invalidating if their parent, is like, when they come to them and say like, hey, I think I'm depressed. Well, what do you have to be depressed for? You have this, and this. Okay, yes, they do. And it can be hurtful as a parent to hear that, but depression is not about material things. And even if they have all the support in the world, that's not how it typically works, right? Yeah, okay, sometimes kids can be like a little bit ungrateful for the things that they have, but typically, if they're telling you an emotion, just acknowledge it. Reassure them you understand why they're feeling scared or sad or depressed or whatever that emotion is. It's okay to acknowledge those emotions and know that we and children deal with difficult stuff. The second thing is develop trust. So you want to let your child know that mistakes are okay and it's part of a learning experience, because we all made mistakes. We all still make mistakes, even as adults, right? The second thing is be supportive as possible. Listen to your child's concerns. I'm always a little bit frustrated, and I used to be very frustrated when my parents would tell me, oh, it's because I'm an adult. Like, if you ask a question, well, why do I have to do this? Or why is this thing like this? Or whatever, right? Oh, well, that because I said so. But why are you saying so? I was one of those kids. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that, yes, there are expectations. There are things that are in place for their safety or for whatever reason, right? And it's okay to explain that to them. Now, if they keep going, that's a little bit different. But if you at least acknowledge and explain why something is the way it is, sometimes they'll just let it go and do exactly what it is you're saying. And if it's appropriate, let them solve their own problems too. We don't always have to immediately jump in and rescue, because that can build anxiety, and then a child that's dependent on others' thoughts and ideas and things before they can make their own decision, right? Show love, warmth, and care. Hug your child as often as possible. I know it might feel weird for some people, especially if they came from a family that didn't show affection, but it can go a long way. Have clear expectations without being too strict. So this kind of ties into gentle parenting a little bit, which I'll go into when I talk about building positive coping skills. But have your expectations set out so that they're clear and it makes sense. So for example, you don't want to tell your child, like, you need to wash the dishes. They wash the dishes, and then you tell them every single thing they did wrong with washing the dishes. That is like a double-edged sword. Cooperation is more important than that competition. Don't overschedule your child, because that's going to create all kind of stress. And if they're not comfortable telling you, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, whoever it is, right, I am feeling overwhelmed, then they're not going to be able to do that. And again, that can breed anxiety, which is something we want to try to mitigate. And then be aware of what your child wants, not what you need. or, not what you want, I should say, what your child wants, because children are their own people. And I think sometimes we forget that. We were children once. We had feelings, we had thoughts, we had things that we wanted to do. Again, this is, it's kind of complicated, because I'm not saying let your child have a free-for-all and that there can't be things in place and such, but there are certain things that we should allow our child to be understanding of. And sometimes we don't allow our children to have grace, probably because we don't always give ourselves grace either. So when it comes to building some positive coping skills, what I'm going to suggest is, obviously you want to model it. You want to provide a good example. So if you keep calm and express your anger in a healthy way, more than likely it's going to allow them to express their anger or whatever that emotion is in a healthy way. You want to teach them about consequences, both positive and negative. So this is what I was talking about when I was talking about gentle parenting. That is a big kind of trending topic more recently, right? And that is not to say gentle parenting does not contain consequences, because it does. So it's not like a free-for-all. It's not your kid doesn't learn lessons. And of course, I could always go into that more in a session if someone wanted to know about it. But also, let me just reiterate, I understand that gentle parenting in some ways comes from a place of privilege, right? Because if I've learned the skills necessary to be able to parent my child that way, because I've been able to have education about it, I have the books to teach me about it, I have these other community members who know about it and can teach me about it, then I am privileged to be able to do that. Everyone does not have the ability to do that. Self-care, that's a big component of gentle parenting, because you have to be able to tune into yourself. You have to be able to find that place where you can relax. You have to be able to have the capacity to even practice it, and not everyone can do that, right? So this isn't me judging or saying like you need to do this, because I get it. It can be a very difficult thing to do. But what I'm telling you specifically about that, if we're talking about gentle parenting, is consequences are important in any capacity, because they're going to have consequences in the world. Encourage rational thinking. So make sure you're letting your kids know what's fantasy and what's reality. So like, for example, if someone has gotten a divorce, you want to let them know that they're not the cause for a divorce, right? Their behavior didn't cause it. Is really, really helpful for a child to know. So that's what I mean by rational thinking. Provide them with some control. Children don't always have control, and then they exert it in a bunch of different ways, right? So like, it might be behavior, it might be coming out in emotions. Maybe they're really aggressive or something like that. That's what they know how to control. So give them some options. Let them choose family activities. Let them make family decisions. Let them decide what you're going to eat that night, and have them cook it with you in the kitchen if it's safe to do so. I think those are really important things to acknowledge. And then, of course, you can encourage them to eat healthy foods. A healthy lifestyle is important when we're talking about stress, just like it is for adults. So again, some other quick ways they can get the stress out, right? Like, you can implement these today if you wanted to. And you don't have to do them all, of course, because that probably will be unrealistic and stressful for you as parent. Exercise is a big one. You guys can play outdoors if it's good weather, go for a walk, hike. Sometimes there's group sports, writing or drawing. I personally love to, I don't have my coloring book, but I have a coloring book that I use not every day, but pretty often. And so I love to color. I love to paint. When I work with children in therapy specifically, I like to get their hands messy. We might do sand art or paint emotions or anything. Sometimes kids don't want to talk it out, but they'll draw it out or write it out or listen to music, and you listen to the lyrics and see what that means. You can discuss that with them, right? This ties into that. Let their feelings out. Allow them to express themselves. They need to talk. They need to laugh if they need to cry. Speaking from experience, it can be very hurtful when you're not allowed to cry. So what I mean is, as a child, I was allowed to cry, but a lot of times I was very sensitive, would probably be the word I would use. Like, If my brother got in trouble and started crying, I would cry. If I saw something on TV, I would cry. I still do that. Just general things like that, right? So what I mean by that is my parents love them to death. They probably didn't even recognize that this was problematic, but they used to be like, "Why are you crying? Like you cry about everything." Like, and it wasn't just my parents. I mean, my big sister would do it. All of them would fuss at me for crying until the point where I got to like, I'm not showing any emotion. I'm not gonna say anything. It just kind of had me shut down, and my voice wasn't really heard until I got old enough to recognize, like, no, I deserve to be able to state these things and say these things and feel all these emotions that I need to feel, and that's okay. Do something fun. Maybe learn a new hobby together, something that helps relax your kid. It could be a lot of fun. Y'all could do puzzles or anything you like to do, but make sure you check in with them. Don't just find something that you enjoy and make your child do it. And then another thing that I would suggest is laughter. Laughter can go a long way. The movie Encanto is really funny. There's some serious themes in it, but for most kids, especially if they're younger, they don't necessarily pick up on those. They just laugh. So laughter can be fun. And then the final thing is learn ways to relax. So you could join and do some parent-child coaching, and we could work on y'all with ways that you can relax. Breathing exercises is always something that goes a long way because you have to breathe. So the learning to do it in a way that's most helpful is going to be ideal. Massages, aromatherapy, Tai Chi, anything like that could be a really cool thing. Again, it could kind of tie into that hobby for people to learn. So that is kind of what I'm going to suggest. Like I said, I wanted to tie that into Antonio because he was quite a little stressed kid. I mean, once he got his magic, of course, he was way less stressed. He enjoyed what, his skill was. But if he had continued in that family, I'm sure that stress probably would have continued to build because all of them were stressed out, quite frankly. So, stress management ties into self-care. This one's specifically for the kiddos and your family. If y'all have any questions, as always, please reach out to us here at Rooted Ambition. Let us know how we can help you, help your family, or even help yourself, right? Make sure y'all are checking out those groups and joining. We have some pretty cool stuff happening next month. We have new coaches who are more than likely going to start releasing some material, maybe doing some groups live as well. So hopefully y'all have enjoyed this. Give us your feedback. Let us know if there's any tips you find that are most helpful for your kiddos when they're dealing with stress, because that's what we want to do here. We want to grow, because remember, here we grow. Bye, y'all.